Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Shamika. I serve as the Associate Director of Community here at the James Beard Foundation. The James Beard Foundation is a 501c3 nonprofit organization whose mission is to celebrate, support, and elevate the people behind America's food and culture and champion a standard of good food anchored in talent, equity, and sustainability. To learn more about our JBF programs, events, and initiatives, please visit us at jamesbeard.org or platform.jbf.org. I'm really excited about today's webinar. It is in collaboration with the Queer Food Foundation. We welcome those of you who have joined the call and thank you for participating, our panelists, our moderator, as well as all of the attendees who's joining today for today's webinar called Q for Content. I'm excited to introduce you to Vanessa Parish, who serves as both the Executive Director and co-founder of the Queer Food Foundation, to tell us more about today's webinar.
Thank you, Shamika. Hello, everyone. Welcome to our Q is for Content panel, sponsored by Bento Box. So I always want to give a special thank you to Bento Box. I'm going to do a quick introduction of our moderator and panelist, and we'll leave it over to Candace, who is one of our Queer Food Foundation advisory members, who is also a sought-after award-winning food creative. Candace is known around Indianapolis as a spice slider and uses her love of food to season the masses and connect people. She holds nearly 20 years of experience in the marketing and nonprofit arenas, and you can find her in community with Planner House of Indianapolis, Indie Women in Food, and also the co-host of Black Girls Eating, the podcast. She's also a board member of Growing Place Indie, Community Food Box, and of course, QFF. You can find Candace on her socials at Food Love Talk and Black Girls Eating. One of our panelists is esteemed Chef Will Coleman, chef, content creator, multi-founder, and TV host. Will aims to diversify the food space and create moments of adventure, joy on and off the screen. He believes that food is meant to be vibrant and shared with those who love. His work explores Black American cuisine, global ingredients, bold flavors. This is showcased through short-form content, branded activations, partnerships, television segments, editorial features, and direct-to-consumer products. You can also find Will at Chef Will Coleman on social. We also have Aubrey Johansen. They're a food developer and personal chef behind Thatswhatsheeats, food and lifestyle Instagram account that she's been running since 2014. Aubrey not only shares her recipes and time spent as a pro athlete personal chef, but her life with her wife Megan and their baby boy, brand new, and pets Queso, Pearl, and Chip. She knows taking up space as a career creator is more important than ever. She currently lives in Cleveland, Ohio, keeping her creativity flowing, and is honored to be included in this year's panel. And also, please follow Aubrey on Thatswhatsheeats. And then finally, we have James Park as an esteemed panelist, recipe developer and food writer based in Brooklyn. He trained at the International Culinary Center in New York City. Has worked with various food media brands such as The Kitchen, Eater, 352, and BuzzFeed. He also co-hosts a YouTube channel called Kaka Studio, which shares unique Korean American experiences and perspectives through Korean food, culture, and travel. You can find James at James World on social media, and also any folks that are attending this panel today will get entered to win his new book, Chili Chris, that is coming out tomorrow. So very excited for that as well. But thank you to everyone for being here. Thank you to our panelists and moderator, and I'll let you take it over, Candace.
Yay! Thank you guys so much. I'm so excited to chat with you all today. This panel is super, super hot, so I'm super excited to jump in with you all. I always like to start a conversation out with something fun. So my icebreaker is pretty simple, and we can just popcorn. When did you fall in love with food? And either one of you can answer.
I'll go first.
Okay.
Food is an industry where you have to really love what you do because every day is going to test you. So when I'm feeling tested, I go back to this time of me falling in love with food originally. And it was during high school where just a tricky time, no matter who you are, where you're from. And the first time I ever hosted a dinner party in my friend's mom's kitchen, who was a flight attendant, so she was never home. I would take over her kitchen. And the first dinner party I had there, all my friends gathered. I cooked the food. We all helped clean up. And that's when I realized, wow, food is something that can be used to bring people together, make people feel like they're at home, and just create this joyous experience, a unique experience, that this one thing that a dinner party did for me.
Yes, I love it. I love
I
it.
love that. I fell in love with food as a child, I would say. Something my mom reminds me often. I would like get up and run down the stairs for breakfast saying, "What's for dinner?" And she's like, "You haven't even eaten breakfast yet. Like, let's start at the top." And it just kind of evolved from there. I spent a lot of days, I think, as most kids who grew up in food in our generation, watching the Food Network and learning how to cook from a lot of people on the TV. And that was always like sparking fun ideas and weird recipes and things to try. And kudos to my parents for trying some of those early day things, like 17 spices out of the cabinet that had no business being together. But yeah, definitely started early on.
Yeah. What about you, James?
I think for me, like as a Korean immigrant, I've always loved food, and food was like the center of all of our gatherings. But it became really serious when I moved to America, and especially in New York City, where I was just like really exposed in a way that food was a perfect way for me to feel empowered as my Korean identity in America. And I couldn't really figure out whether like I could do anything with this, but I knew that I was the happiest when I ate dishes with people that I love. And I just feel like I feel very blessed that I can feel the type of joy every single day beyond of just 3 meals that I eat, and just share that type of happiness and joy with other people through the love of cooking and eating.
Yeah, I love that. I think for me, knowing that all the cool stuff happened in my home around the kitchen. So you did your homework, you got scolded, that's where the gossip went down. All of that stuff happened in the kitchen. So I said, let me be in the thick of it. I want to know what's going on. And so cooking kind of became this cool thing that I learned to do. My mom cooks, my dad cooks, both of my grandparents are excellent cooks. So getting in the thick of it is kind of where I was like, okay, I like this. Oh, and it tastes good too. Okay, I'm gonna keep doing this. So I tell people, I love to cook because I love to eat. Like that's literally the vehicle, because I love to eat. So thank you all for indulging me with that today. So we're going to jump in. So we're talking about food blogging and food influencing. That has shifted throughout the years, right? We didn't know what this food influencer lifestyle was 10, 20 years ago. Now everyone has an Instagram, everyone has a TikTok. What have been some of the things that you have pulled with you, that have stayed with you since you first started?
For me, it would be this element of storytelling and sharing a part of my authenticity with my food. Before reels were a thing, I was like typing captions and articles and taking photos, but I'll always try to figure out an element to add to the dish to bring life into it. So it's just not another recipe online or in a book. So I think that now, fast forward, we have reels, we have TikTok and all of that stuff on TV. I'm still trying to figure out ways to include me on the plate and integrate that storytelling element throughout it all.
Yeah, I definitely relate to what Will is saying. I think something that I try to carry with me as food and social media is always evolving is me, is my voice, is my story, is my why. I think before any of us are putting out recipes into this like ether, like there are people behind them, and that is what people connect to as well. I would say that, you know, when I follow an account and I'm drawn to a food creator, like there has to be something about them as a person that like hooks me in, not just like pure talent in the kitchen. I want to be connected in a way that I relate to you, that I and am inspired by you, something that fuels creativity and sparks. So when I get kind of like lost in the shuffle of, wow, things are always changing, you got to bring it back to the why, the story, like Will said, and like who you are as a person before you're putting anything on a plate.
Yeah, and also totally agree with Audrey and Will in a way that I think your point of view is really what sets you apart from anything. There are truly hundreds of different videos of making like brownies or any other thing, but what really makes you unique is like your relationship with that. Like, what about that your love for brownie is more special? Is it just that you're really happy, or like is there any special story that's like related to your family? And I love watching other people share their love of certain dishes, and I love hearing their stories. And I also love just like picking different people's skill set that I've never heard about, or exploring food culture that's outside of my world. So as a Korean immigrant, I kind of find myself just always cooking or like kind of staying in the Korean flavors, but through like, watching other food creators in the space, I learn about their culture, and I kind of learn about how I can incorporate their flavors and stories into my kitchen. And I think that's one of the fun parts of like being a part of this, like a social conversation. It's all about the exchange of your stories and flavors and cultures.
James, I love that you called it a social conversation, because I'm the same exact way. Like, it's so easy to get stuck in just how you do things, the flavors you use, the dishes you usually make. But when you're on social, you're building a community, and I may not be making Korean food every single night, but I may be interested in putting chili crisps now in my brownies because I follow someone like you who's doing fun stuff with their food, who's telling their own stories in authentic ways. So I'm like, let me give that a try in my kitchen too. But that's the beauty of it. It's a full circle moment when you really use social and build your community in an authentic and meaningful way.
Absolutely. I think some of the best recipe tips I ever got were through comments on my blog. It's like, well, why don't you do it this way? Or, my grandmother adds this to her sauce. Or instead of making a slurry, how about you use this? And just like you said, it's building the conversation. And our stories are just never for us. Our recipes are just never for us. There's somebody somewhere that has something that you're going to give them. It's a gift, right? So James, with your new recipe book, right? That's a gift to us. Like the fact that, you pull together all of these different recipes that we'll one day be able to look back and say, you know what? Thank you for that. Thank you for this moment in time that we can look back and say, I got a little piece of James with me to carry on. So I love that. And it is a part of you. It's telling your story. So thank you all for sharing that with us. I love that. So let's talk about what the numbers game looks like in social media. Because again, several of us started years ago, right? When you had, when Instagram was just for photos, you didn't have to contend with reels and all of the different sounds and all of the different, venues you have to deal with. What does the numbers game look like for you? How do you stay motivated when you have to pay to play? How do you continue to pull together content that is engaging, that is enriching, and that is something that is going to feed your soul as well as the followers that are following you? How do you stay connected?
I think for me, there are definitely times where I get lost in the numbers, and it's frustrating, but then you're just like producing content to play the game by the rules. And I notice for me when I'm doing that and I'm just like putting out content to put out content, like it doesn't reach people. It's not benefiting my community. It's not benefiting, I'm not like teaching anyone. I'm not helping anybody do anything. And when I remember we come back to the why in the community, creating content that I want to create, things that inspire me and make me feel good in my space that I've grown and cultivated, that is an anchor that I have to come back to quite a bit. But also I would say there's kind of like gratitude in the pay to play situation, because I think without the evolution of what's happening in social media, I would not have learned so many new skills. Like I did not expect to be a video editor like ever. And my food photography has really improved over the last few years, like something that I taught myself how to do because of this platform. So in a way, there are definitely days that I'm frustrated, but I know the people that are following me, like are here for me, they're going to see the things that I'm putting out that matter. So at the end of the day, I just have to let it go and let the algorithm like do its thing. It's going to unfold the way that it's meant to.
This is such a good question to me because I've like had a lot of restless nights thinking about the algorithm and like followers and likes and all that stuff. But the more I get into it, I let it go because it's not much that I can control. However, what I can control is having a curated feed and doing things with intention and creating content that is original and continuing to try every single day and not letting a numbers game get a hold of me, because I think that's what separates creators who are authentic and who are truly about what they do and those who are looking to chase a next viral moment. And in the grand scheme of things, those are two separate creators. And for me, I'm searching and running for longevity. For me, this is my career. This is not a fun game that I'm playing on the side on the weekend. This is what I do. There's no plan B. There's A and A plus for me. So it's like it's I think of it as a long game and doing things that really bring me happiness, listening to my community, trying new things, and just always banging my toes. Like I would love to try a viral moment once in a while, but that's not who I am. And not the content that I've created or the mission that I've set for those who have already followed me way before trends have come along.
I also think you have to have like different set of expectations in a way. You're like as creators, I don't think you are putting your content out there just for the sake of feeding your ego and liking the, appreciating people's responses. You are putting your content out there because you want to share it for different reasons. And not everything will hit, but I think if you have a right balance of like, okay, like I start to notice there's a trend of certain viral things that whenever people make certain things, it goes viral. And instead of just like, okay, let me just do that because it's viral, you can add your own spin or you can add your perspective just to be a part of that viral conversation. And that might reward you in numbers. And you can kind of think of it like, how can I still like go after certain things that will reward me in numbers, but not be really controlled by that. But also you should be able to create content that deep down to your heart it's not gonna like get the numbers that you want, but you should be proud that you're putting this stories out because it's important to you and it's important that you are spending time to create this content for you. So I get that in a way we're all kind of creators to feed or kind of serve our fans and audience, but at the end of the day you have to remember that you're doing this for yourself, and if you forget that you can easily be discouraged by people's reaction and such, and you just need to give yourself the validation of that you are proud of your work and you're proud of your content regardless of what the numbers are rewarding you.
I think it all goes back to your individual mission as a creator. Like if your mission is to have viral videos back to back and you don't want to have any of you in your videos, sure. But if your mission is to be authentic with your audience and create things that you truly enjoy and you want to put content out that is meaningful to both you and your audience, it's a different game you're playing.
I love the reminders to like longevity. Like, are we in this for the long haul? And also like the ego check, because that is so true. Like, do we mass produce things just for this like validation, or like, is there a deeper reason that you're sharing what you're sharing? But I totally love what Will said about the long game. Like, this is something that we're doing as a career. Like, this is it. And we're like evolving with it. So if it's out of your control, like acceptance is kind of the answer.
That's good. That actually brings me to the question we have for later. We can go ahead and jump in now. So what does longevity look like in the food space now? We've gone through a pandemic. We've had economic challenges happen over the last several years. In what ways have you, as creators, have had to shift and had to pivot? And like you said, Aubrey, you now become a video editor. You expanded your photography skills. In what ways have you shifted, and what does that longevity look like for the future for you?
I feel like I have my hands in like so many mixing bowls in the food world. Like when I got started, I worked on the line in fine dining and that was it. Like I worked my shift, I went home and that was it. And as the years have passed, like I've built my personal chef business. I work with brands on recipe development. I am a home food photographer. I work in food photography studios, working through like food styling contracts. So I think working in the food space and in the last several years, learning how to be malleable, coachable, and willing to try anything new, whether or not you fail. But I think there's space to just to try new things and see what feels good, what sticks, what fits. So while like my fine dining restaurant line days are over, I still take the skills that I learned from that experience and it carries me through when I'm food styling and I'm plating this beautiful plate of food. Like I remember the things that I learned 10 years ago that helped me in my food styling skills. But I think we can't know, right? Like, so if you have this like 5-year plan for your business or even just for like social media, Instagram, I don't know what's coming. And I kind of don't want to block myself off by having this like rigid plan and knowing what's coming next, because I think of the opportunities that have come my way from just being myself and sharing my story through food. Like imagine being so laser focused on your 5-year plan that you miss all these opportunities that are coming your way just by being genuine in this platform. So while I wish I had a crystal ball a lot of the time, like I want security, I want promises, like I want to know that like I'm right where I'm supposed to be, like trusting and knowing that the opportunities that have come my way mean that I'm right where I'm supposed to be.
I also think you need to think outside of your platform. I can talk about like if you're in a food space, there's so many other ways that you can still do what you love, and Instagram or just like social, it's just one of the ways for you to almost treat it like a portfolio for you to have a bigger dream. So whether that is writing a cookbook or hosting a TV show, I think social media is a fantastic place for you to share who you are in a way that traditionally back in the days, like you had to like have a signed, through agency, or you had to be considered, you had to go through a lot of like different traditional things to do what you want to do, such as writing a cookbook and such. But using social media and more strategically to go after certain dreams that you want to have, whether that is showcasing your hosting skill or showcasing your recipes. I think those are the type of ways to really make your career in food go beyond of just like creating videos on your Instagram.
I think you both answered it correctly, or like exactly what I would say, because when I first started, it was because I was doing TV, like the morning news in Detroit. But fast forward 8 years later, I'm still looking to expand my pot and do many things beyond just the feed. I look at my feed as a portfolio for all that I'm doing in real life, but also within my career as well. So like my bio said, the brand partnerships, the direct-to-consumer products, the real life events, because real life still does really matter beyond social media. But just always looking for ways to just expand your knowledge and your passion beyond just posting and leaving.
Yes, beyond posting and leaving, creating a two-pole relationship. The one thing that we have seen spark up in the last few years has been Patreon, have been, paid newsletters. And I think our audiences are more apt to participate because they understand that this content creation is not just a 1 hour thing, right? It's research, it's writing, it's recipe testing. It costs money. All of those things cost money. All of those things cost time. That's time away from your family. That's time away from your self-care. So I like the fact that we are able to be open and honest about the fact that this is work. And yes, there are those that have to pay to play, so to speak, but it's also creating a reciprocal relationship with our readers and our followers and our listeners. So let's talk about the viralness of TikToks and home cooks. Have either of you been influenced by home cooks and the viralness of the TikTok recipes, especially as we were coming out of pandemic? If I saw another bread recipe, I thought I was going to scream. But I was thankful because it's like, I appreciate the look into, another set of four walls that are not like my own. So have you been influenced by the viral hacks of TikTok?
Honestly, not really. The thing that I'm inspired by overall when it comes to virality is how people think about food. I just maybe try to think about am I using my ingredients to its fullest potential? Am I thinking about how to cook dishes to its fullest potential? It just makes me think more and be more open-minded. Because that's what it's all about. Like, just always staying original, but also always be willing to learn as well. So I think anything a viral moment beyond what the dish was just how can I evaluate how I move in the kitchen and also how I film content. There's certain content that goes viral because of how it's filmed, the storytelling element of it, the voiceover is a mixed bag of things that make moments viral. So I'm always open to learning and implementing it into my own content, no matter what it is. But yeah, I think I'm over the sourdough and a slew of other viral moments that I won't get into.
Mhm.
I think for me, there's certain viral recipes that definitely intrigue me because it looked really, really good. And certain videos go viral for different reasons. I think we all have seen those ladies who are like making, a queso by like throwing on the table and like those kind of stuff. Like, sure, it goes viral because everyone is like so mad about that, and like that goes viral for wrong reasons. But for recently, certain things like feta fried eggs, so that was a viral recipe that's still going viral, like that one of my work colleagues shared, and I made that with like my own twist of chili crisp, and honestly it was so delicious. It totally opened up my way of thinking so many different possibilities of enjoying eggs. And I think moments like that, I really appreciate that viral recipes make those kind of tricks go viral so that so many people find the new exciting ways to eat and cook.
I think I'm easily influenced, honestly, by like branding in the grocery store, new products. Like if it's packaged well, if it's marketed well, if it's appealing in any way, like I'm hooked. And I will never be over sourdough. I love bread so much. Like I will never, it's just like a crusty loaf, it's like, it's kind of like sexy, like I will never be over it. I think, there are some fun things and then there are things that I see that are viral and I'm like, okay, that just doesn't make sense to me, like from a palate place. But I will say, I think the pickle wrapped in cheese melted thing like hit me at the most opportune time in my pregnancy. Like that carried me through months of my life. Have I touched it since? No. But, there's gratitude for that phase and that recipe to come out. I love TikTok. My TikTok bio says never dancing. And I like truly mean that. Like you will never find me dancing on TikTok, but I do love to watch the craziest trends and things pop up, whether or not I try them.
If anything, the viral moments just remind me to continue to have fun with my content and also my social media and like my cooking. at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Like, have
Like,
fun with your food.
it
That's what it's
doesn't
about.
feel so serious all the time. Like that, I think it helps me remember that. Like when I get stuck in my own head, I'm like, okay, we can have fun here. It doesn't have to be so heavy.
Right. Getting back to that why of why you started it in the first place, of having fun and sharing, right? Let's talk about that other Q. Q is also for queer. Have you felt safe showing up as yourself in your social media platforms? Do you feel the need to have a personal page and then a business page? Do you only share so much in your professional pages? Do you leave all of that for your personal side? Tell me more. What does that look like for you?
So as a queer Black man, I've never really felt safe. When I was living in Michigan, going to school, in college, in New York, it doesn't matter. I never feel a true sense of safetyness. But I think at the end of the day, it's a choice for me to have to choose. Do I want to show up as my full self into the role that I'm doing as my full-time job, or do I want to continue to hide and create this curated version that makes other people happy? Obviously, I've chosen myself, and that is going to be the most beneficial thing for me at the end of the day. But I have found that the more I like express myself, the more I paint my nails, the more I'm just me. The comments, they're crazy. They're crazy sometimes. But those comments aren't the people that are a part of my community. They aren't the people that are following me, that aren't buying my products, that coming to my events, making my recipes. It's not them. It's on the comments of a paid ad video or something that does go viral. And I have to just remember that's not who I'm serving. And at the end of the day, those people are always going to be there, no matter if I'm walking the streets of New York or behind my camera on Instagram. It's beyond my control. The only thing I can control is showing up as my full self. And that's one thing that I encourage anybody to do, no matter what they do for work. If it's an office job or social media, show up as your full self, because at the end of the day, you're going to pay for not showing up as a full self, because you have to go home at the end of the day. So it's just always just in your best interest to be the most authentic version that you are comfortable with in the moment, because it's always changing for me. And just being okay with those negative comments and just realizing that's not who is your community anyways. So it doesn't even matter.
For me, it's like I never really disclose like my sexuality or anything like that specifically on my Instagram. I think people can have their opinions and their thoughts, and they can, like as Will says, those people who are commenting negatively about my appearance, my voice, or whatever there is, they're not here for me. They're just there to speak up their mind. So I don't really pay attention to them in a way. I think it's really funny sometimes how little things they like pay attention to. But I think the whole showing up as who you are can be natural for people like us, but I also think that it can be a little bit difficult for other people. So I think you just need to have the right boundary of how you want to use this. I think if you want to have a career and use your social media space as a way to proceed in your career, I think it benefits from like sharing more and definitely being more open up. But I don't think everyone, every individual who uses social media needs to do that. And just knowing the right boundary of like, am I going to treat this as a work portfolio, or is this also a glimpse of my life? Or, I don't think there's a right way of doing that, as long as you know and set the right boundaries of how you feel comfortable about using your platform.
I think, like we come out all the time. Like when you meet somebody new and you're talking to them, you kind of want to like gauge where your safety is, like I throw in like, oh, my wife, and I step back and I make a little squint. Like, are we okay? And if this if this is my work portfolio and it is bringing me to clients, to partnerships, to brands, like I want to make sure that they know who they're backing and I know who I'm working with. So while there's a lot of my like personal life and relationship that I save for me. I think it's also important for me to share pieces and parts of my life, because when I was a kid, there weren't a lot of resources of like, I didn't know any lesbians. I didn't know any women who were married to women. I didn't know how two women were able to have children. Like, I just didn't see what my future was going to look like. So if I have like this small space to take up and share my life in a way that feels good and authentic for me, I'm happy to do it. I also know that there are times where I feel like, am I trendy? You know, like, is somebody working with me right now because I am gay and it's Pride Month, or like, you know, it's like a feel good kind of thing. And working through that and making sure that values are aligned, or I can trust my gut, like a little gut check that helps. I have a personal Instagram. I've had it since I was in college, and I mainly post a lot of pictures of my cat over there, but a lot of pictures of more of my personal life just for people that I know for real. But I definitely do share glimpses of my personal life, because in my career, like I do want to be known as this person behind the food. Like, I want people to know, like, that's what she eats. Oh, that's Aubrey. Here are things that I know about her. She's relatable because of this. Like, if I want to expand my career as a person and like personality for me before the food, I am comfortable with sharing pieces and parts of my life. A lot of pieces and parts.
Yeah, I get it. I remember my wife and I were deciding whether or not we were going to share our wedding photos. And I knew we were going to share them on our personal accounts, but I was like, am I going to share it over there? I don't know. And I said, I'm just going to do it, right? Like, I'm going to do it. And it was almost cathartic to be able to be like, okay, like, I don't have to have this veil over here. And the moment I shared it, so many people were like, I'm so glad you shared that, or thank you for giving me a safe space to share that. Because I'm in the Midwest, I'm in Indiana. Not to say that there's not gay people here, but it's not really one of the safest places to be out all the time, right? So, but knowing that, again, my story is not just for me, knowing that I could share and someone else felt safe, that was big. And so thinking about, you know, what it feels to be queer in a food space that doesn't always respect you as your person, and to have, you know, comments from people, you know, oh, I love your food, but do you have to show this? Just like, okay, do you want the person? Do you want the story? Like, which, like, you don't get to pick and choose, right? And so I think that's it's what we battle with every day. Just like you said, Aubrey, like, you kind of temper in with a question to gauge your level of safety. And I think it's one of the things that straight people don't necessarily have to think about. We come out every day, multiple times a day for various reasons and for varying levels of safety. So thank you for sharing that deeply personal part with me. So we've got a few minutes left. We've got some questions in the chat, so I'm going to throw those out to you all. Looks like Catherine asked, what was the skill set that was most useful in creating a social media presence that you are proud of? Is there a resource that was helpful for you in learning that skill?
I'd say just taking pictures of food. Step one, clean your camera lens. Like, it's just the simple things, like compositioning in a way where it's in the middle of the camera. It's just like those small tips. So I think for a resource for that is just look at some of your favorite creators who are taking simple iPhone food pictures, and not copy what they're doing, but just look at the overall theme. The food is in the middle. It's a clear image. The saturation isn't too crazy. it's near maybe some natural light. It's not in a dark room, not a lot of shadows. Just taking pictures of your food. I think it's just step one to get into this space.
I also personally loved learning about creating videos. There are so many different elements of what it takes to create a video content, coming from, you know, your idea to executing and getting the right shot and editing and having your own editing styles, having a narration or having a VO of a different script of how to tell the story. All of this, you know, as Instagram or as we all kind of like transfer from photo heavy, you know, here's a picture of my beautiful dish, to more of a video telling. I had to teach a lot about those kind of skills. And at the end of the day, I really enjoy that because you can share so much more beyond photos. And I think everyone kind of has their own unique style of like what type of aspect of sharing your story it feels the best for you. I don't personally love writing. So I always feel like writing, I always feel a little insecure about writing and just like that kind of stuff. So like the fact that I can really share my story through the video and like sharing, you know, like using my camera to like talk and those, it was a little amateur at first, but by watching all these people who are look up to, who are creators, letting them be your like mentors in a way, and always having this mindset of learning how to improve your skills, you kind of become, you kind of absorb all of those with the right mindset. And I'm just so happy that now I can really create the content that I want from my like, or translating from my vision to like reality.
I think that I don't have a resource like a class or anything, but when I first got started, I still use my iPhone for a lot of things. And then sometimes I'll use my professional like camera. But when I first got started, I thought I needed all this fancy equipment and like I thought I needed, you know, the coolest whatever. This is like the nicest kitchen I've ever had, but like I have cooked in the tiniest, smallest kitchen for my like whole content creating life. And I think it's knowing that you don't have to have like big, spacious, brand new, like buy a used camera, like go into a resale shop, grab a camera and a lens, like $150 and just play with it. I think set your expectations that it's not going to be perfect right away. And I think as adults, especially, you know, we've spent our lives either in our careers or in our skills, like we spent years and years and years developing those. So we're not new all the time. And now to be an adult in this space, trying something new, like that's hard. That's kind of scary. So just understanding that you might be putting out things that don't look the way that you want them to look, but it's okay to be new and to be trying and to be learning. And it's kind of fun. Like when I look back on my food photos from like 2013, I get to laugh, you know, and like enjoy that and like see the growth, see the progress. Like that's really awesome to be like, wow, I've come so far. So for me, it's just recommending like managing your expectations and just not being afraid to like try and be bad at something for a little while so that you can evolve.
Those are great answers. So we've got a few more questions. How has queer mentorship been a part of your journey? And if you have had a mentor, share that experience. And this can be you as a mentee or a mentor, if you've had.
I think overall, just me sharing who I am on social is me attempting to be a mentor to anybody that follows me, just to show them a Black queer man can do just what I'm doing. However, I have lots of mentors. And one person, for example, his name is, I'm sure you're familiar, Eddie's Grocer. It's a space in Brooklyn. And I bring him up mainly because we're a few years apart. He's a gay Lebanese man. And it's always important to see people that are similar to you doing your work because it makes you just know that it's possible. And I don't need someone to tell me it's possible, But when you see someone doing the work, passionate about the work, showing up every day, and they may have had some of the similar struggles that you've had, it just makes it that much more possible for me. I can have conversations about pay, about my journey, about ideas that I have, crazy big ideas that I have. And he can tell me, or anybody can tell me that's in, like a queer person, queer mentor can say, yeah, it's possible. I did it. Or I've never done it, but here, let me help you do it. Just having people in your life that look like you and have similar journeys to you to tell you that you can do it and to root you on and give you the resources that to do what you want to do is invaluable. It's invaluable because it's a person-to-person experience and not like something beyond that. I don't know. It's special to me.
I love that. I feel like I forget, like, as we build these communities of people, like, it's kind of, I think, okay, what can I provide to my community? What can I teach? What questions can I answer? But I also have questions, like, who can answer my questions? And I think if it is the long game, like we're talking about, like, it's important to have people that we can, like an advisory board almost, you know? I'm not so sure about, like, if I go to anyone for like queer advice, but knowing that there's a lot of like queer creators that I follow and I engage with, like, that feels like my advisory board, I guess.
Also, I always thought like mentors were supposed to be someone who's like a lot older than me, like someone who's almost like a teacher figure, but I find a lot of like inspiration and comfort from my own friends who are doing the same thing. You know, everyone has a different queer story, their relationship with their identity, and just like having this kind of an open conversation with my friends who are kind of similar backgrounds, whether they're queer or Koreans. Um, I think just like having that safe conversation with your peer means as much as like having a mentorship of someone who has like almost like teach me like, oh, this is what I did and you should do that. And I think sometimes when I talk to um more experienced queer people, they tend to almost like tell me, oh, this is what you're doing wrong, which sometimes I don't necessarily appreciate. But if I'm having this kind of conversation with my friends, we might not know the answer, but I love that we are just kind of trying to figure this out together and just having that like support group. To me, that is as valuable as having any sort of mentorship.
Love that. I really love that. So it looks like we've got another question. Are there any queer content creators that you would like to shout out or tell us someone that we should follow or someone we should know?
Yeah, I love following Butter Be Ready. I met Quinn when I lived in Tampa, and they are incredible. Just the quality of the content coming out, the recipes, the stories. If you are not following Quinn, highly recommend.
Well, my mentor, the one I referred to, mentor / friend, Eddie Masai, on Eddie's Grocer.
This is less of a creator, but I highly recommend following my photographer of the book, who is kind of my mentor as well. Her name is Hemi Lee. Her account is Nothing in Passing. She's the very first queer Korean woman who I really connected, that empowered me to go after all these things that I feel like I'm living my dream right now. And she's, you know, she's not like an Instagram or creator. She is an incredible professional photographer, but just having someone, you know, like that you are connecting to, I would highly recommend like checking her out and like ask her questions as well.
Awesome. Got another question. Food media is oversaturated at times. How does a beginner stay creative when curating a brand?
Can you say that one more time? My brain was focused on typing this handle. Thank
It's
you.
okay. That's okay. So food media can be oversaturated at times. How does a beginner stay creative when curating a brand?
Think about your POV. What makes you different? What's your story? Boom.
I agree, because it's like there's only one person who is you. You can say that food media or any industry is saturated, but there's no one who has your personal. There's no one who is you in this world, and I think that alone, you should feel good that I am the only person who can share my stories, and no matter how saturated they are, what industry you're in, you just showing up and sharing your stories is already your brand.
I agree completely with everything that was just said.
Lastly, social media has the power to change lives. Do you feel that social media will still be impactful as it 10 years from now, 5 years from now, 20 years from now? How do you stay consistent in the changing narrative?
As Aubrey said earlier, I can't control what's in 5 or 10 years. I think all that I could do is be intentional about what I'm bringing into the conversation, because one thing I know for sure, the internet lasts forever. So in 10 years, Instagram may not be the hottest app, but my digital footprint will still be there. And for me, this is a long game. This is my career. So what I'm doing now will be the history in 10, 20 years, where I could say this is where I first started at. And overall, it's going to add to my ultimate story. So if you're first starting off now, think about what you want the end game to be, and just be intentional about curating the perfect story, the perfect ecosystem to your brand. But have fun throughout it and be responsible throughout it, because that's the thing about social media and the internet. You have to be responsible because it's so much influence, and it's a lot of pressure to know that your post and your feed can have impact over someone else's life. But at the same time, keep that in mind. So you are posting responsibly and just being thoughtful about what you're bringing into the conversation.
I think about like what therapists are going to hear in like 5 or 10 years when like if social media isn't, and like your whole life has been on social media, or it has been your career for many, many years, and like kind of what the come down is from that, or like a creator who chooses to walk away from this space and they're no longer like constantly posting, constantly creating in this way. What does that look like? Like, what does that mental load kind of look like is more of what I think. And I kind of have like some intrusive thoughts sometimes, like, will I always be relevant? Like, will I be relevant as I age? Like, what does that look like for me? But I think what is really cool about TikTok, and like if everyone is joining and like sharing in their recipes, and like if it's oversaturated, like again, there are so many people at so many phases of life and like doing different things that it just, there's so much space to grow and just like be who you are. So if you stayed authentic, you've stayed true to yourself, like there will always be space.
Yeah, I also think the idea of meeting someone new through like social media, I really love that and cherish that, being able to connect with someone who I've never met, but like just having that connection instantly through by like engaging with each other. And like a lot of my friends are just someone that I've met through Instagram, and without any sort of like putting myself out there or like truly trying to find a group of like community out there through social media, I wouldn't really have this like amazing support group of my friends. So I hope, whatever the social media space looks like, I hope there will be always opportunity for me to meet new people and like connect with people that I would never met just like through in real life. And I'm excited for that aspect of social media moving forward.
to finals. What are the ways that you can care for your mental health as you scroll through social media? And lastly, what are the best ways that we can support you in your endeavors?
Well, okay. Well, I'll go first. So I think as of now, mental health is very, very hard. And I think in terms of like me creating content and being a part of that, it's really hard not to compare myself with other people, whether that is numbers or anything. But you have the way that I'm taking care of myself is like giving myself the positive affirmation slash acknowledging what I did. I constantly felt like there was something to accomplish after, and I always, because I never really took a chance to really give myself that acknowledgement that I want to hear. I often feel like I'm trying to get the validation from other people, but even though it is kind of hard to do that, I am getting better at validating myself and being the person who's telling myself that I'm doing a good job, rather than try to get that external validation. And working on that as a part of my mental health thing. And the best way to support me right now is to order my cookbook. So yeah, this is like the first kind of product out there that I'm putting out that's kind of beyond my control in a way, that is about to reach who knows where and what. So it would be really I would really appreciate if any of you see the book, just like, I don't know, just like take a picture or just like tell your friends, and the
Buy
best way
it.
for it. Yeah, buy it, give it to your friends. Yeah, so cookbook right now is the best way for you to support me, and also follow me on any sort of social media.
I 100% agree with James. Celebrating your wins. It's really hard when you are go, go, go because one rent is due and you need to post every other day because the algorithm, I don't know. But yeah, giving yourself your flowers. But for me right now, I'm taking a break. I'm stopping. I'm halting when I feel distressed, when I feel burnt out. I'm not fighting through it. It's not worth it. So I think that during those moments where I'm not feeling like 100% myself, I take a break, I pull back, and in 1 or 2 days, I'm back and even better. But when I keep going and going and fighting through it, it's too much and it's never worth it. So give yourself breaks, give yourself your flowers. Biggest way to support me right now, follow me on social, support there. And if you like cooking at home, order my spice line via the website in my bio.
I think for just like as a consumer scrolling on social, just I talk about like expectations again, but like just checking in with yourself. Like, what's my motive here? Am I scrolling to figure out what I'm making for dinner this week, or am I like scrolling because I am in like a doom spiral and I want to like say mean things to myself? Like, let's be accountable. So for me, when I'm feeling like that and I'm like, oh God, I don't have all these cool new jeans that this fashion person's talking about. I'm just like, what am I doing here? Put on some sweatpants. I don't want to wear pants with buttons anyways. I just like positive self-talk for me. It's like, again, I love what James said, like you are you, like there's only one person with your story that you're sharing and like your perspective. So while there might be like millions of the brownie recipes, your point of view counts. It's valid and it matters. And then remembering that social media is so curated, like we all get up in the morning with bad head and like with bad breath, just like remember that, like we're all brushing our teeth. So and then how to support me. You can follow me on social. That's what she eats. You can share videos in your stories if you like my recipes. And then you can check out my blog. Comments are always great. So thatswhatsheeats.com. Yeah, thanks.
Awesome. Well, this has been a wonderful conversation. Thank you all for joining us. And those of you who are here, don't forget, we are having a raffle. We are raffling off James' book. So please, please, please don't forget about that. Thank you again. And I'm going to leave final comments to Vanessa or Shamika. I'm not sure.
Oh, it's me. Hi. Thank you guys again for coming to our panel. Our last panel will be at the end of November, AAPI chefs. So we're really excited. We are also going to be continuing this partnership in 2024. So we have more panels for you coming in 2024. We will also be doing Queer All Year live. So New York City, we'll be doing some Queer All Year panels coming up in person, and hopefully be able to take this on the road. So please look out for that as well. Tasty treats and things like that will be provided in our live panels. So we got some really fun stuff coming up with you. Thank you again to James Beard Foundation for allowing this partnership. This video will be available in their resource library in a few days. So please check out this panel and other panels that we've done previously. And also a special thank you to Bento Box for sponsoring. Thank you everyone for coming, and have a great afternoon.